Hi, I'm Paul Friedman, founder of the Marriage Foundation, and someone writes in and says, I'm having difficulty connecting with my wife sexually. Now, we approach marriage very differently here. You ought to subscribe to this channel if you haven't already so you could learn more about marriage than you will in the right way anywhere else. So this whole thing sexually has become such a topic in our world, and it is completely misunderstood. So let's approach this the right way, and you'll see that it's true. Now, whether you want to go along with this or not is up to you, but I'm going to share with you the truth. So we don't get married for sex. I know a lot of guys say, oh yeah, I wanted sex, and everyone does. Every guy does, and women do too. But it's not at the top of the list. The very top of the list for why we get married is we want to be happier. Every single day of our lives, we want happiness. We get married because we found our soulmate. We want to be with her and be happy. Also, we want to experience love. We never talk about that. It's kind of taboo. And the reason why it is because it's spiritual. You know, you look up love and they'll go, oh, it's an increased like, it's an emotion, but it isn't. Emotions, and I'm not trying to get off topic here, but emotions are a software within the mind. Love is its own thing. You've experienced it. It's very deep. It can't be measured, which means it's metaphysical, which means it's spiritual, which means the psychologists, the so-called marriage experts of the world go hands off. They just think about it in its most mundane form. Oh, you really like that car. You love that car. That's not what love is, and you know better. Now, sex, really, among human beings, is very different from anyone else, from anything else, because we're not animals. We are not advanced animals, we're souls. We have a body and we have a mind. But the problem happens is we have this desire for sex. There's no arguing that, right? You have a desire for sex, so do I, because we have a body. And the body, even though it's a human body, and therefore quite complex, it's still an animal body. In other words, it's biological. In other words, it's comprised of 1 trillion plus cells that are all clamoring to survive, right? The drive to survive is ubiquitous. It is in every living thing because it is the step down from the higher order of survival to, well, we need more of us. So it's subordinate, but it's there. It's real. You can't argue with that. And we live in a body. You're a soul who has a body, who has a mind. So your body is telling your mind, hey man, you gotta have her. In your language, what it really is telling you though is primal stuff. We gotta reproduce, dude. We gotta reproduce. So this disconnect, because as a human being, as a soul, we are not primal beings. We can be totally selfish, totally sexualized, but we're not. We're above that. And the way we use sex at its highest level is to experience love between yourself and your wife, to have that connection of love. But if you've been taught, and you have, by movies, TV, porn, you're taught that it's all about T and P. And it's not. Not for us. That stuff wears out. Ask anyone in their hundreds. 90s maybe, I don't know. For me it hasn't worn out. But because I don't operate on that level, I operate on that level of love because I'm educated, and you can be educated too. So the trick is to not go for the primal physical stuff, but to lift yourself up and get into that space of loving your wife. One way to do that is every time you have a thought of her, change it to something that is more loving, something that is supportive, complimentary, caring. Get your mind wrapped around love, because that's why you got married. And I can tell you right now, and so could Steve Jobs, one of my heroes. At the end of his life, he said, I blew it. Can you imagine? This guy had all the power, all the money, but he didn't have any connection. And he said he blew it. You got to have that connection. And you're in a perfect space to have that in your marriage. It's not going to change if you find someone else. It's not going to change if you have someone on the side. You're still going to be lacking. Because as human beings, we have to have love. We don't have to have sex, but we have to have love. So hopefully this made sense to you. Like the video, leave a comment if you want. If you want to discuss it, please don't argue with me, but we could discuss things. And thank you for spending time with me. God bless you and take care.